Hey everyone! In June, we headed out to Werder Havel near Potsdam, which is not far from Berlin, to stay in a cute little hotel or pension in a village called Glindow, to have a break from city life. I wanted to share with you our experience, as it seems like a bit of an unexplored area by tourists, and we couldn't find much about it online ourselves. We didn't have much of a plan for the first and third days, but I'd found a kind of park online that I knew I wanted to visit on day 2. I'll go through what we did each day individually. First, let's talk about how we got there. Just to give some visuals, this is where our hotel or pension was located, which is about 15 kilometers outside of Potsdam. The closest train station to the hotel is Werder Havel, which was about 3.5 kilometers away. Potsdam and our hotel are both located in Brandenburg, which is the next county or state to Berlin. To get there, you can buy a Berlin ABC zone ticket on the train. You simply buy your tickets at any of the ticket machines at the stations or on the BVG ticket app on your phone. Fortunately, Werder Havel is actually the last stop that you can use this ticket up until. This means that it only costs €3.80 each way. However, we decided to take our bikes with us too, so you do need to buy an additional ticket just for your bike. That costs about €2.70, again for the ABC zone ticket. You need to buy a ticket per bicycle that you're taking, so in total we paid €6.50 each way, which is not bad. Whilst this area does have a local train station that you can use to explore the surrounding areas, I'd recommend you to also take your bicycle if you're not travelling by car. We took the RE1 train from Berlin's Charlottenburg station directly to Werder Havel, which took about 30 minutes. The train was a 2-story train, like most of the regional trains here. Nearly every carriage had a section designated for bicycles, which made things much easier. It can be a bit of a squeeze if there are already other bicycles in there, but these areas can fit multiple bikes at a time. After arriving at the station, we cycled the 2.5 kilometers to a small island located in the Havel River, here. This cute little island can be easily walked around from one end to another, and we spent a couple of hours here getting pizza, wandering the streets and generally just chilling out. As we could check in by this point, we decided to cycle the rest of the way to the hotel or pension. We'd booked the hotel through booking.com, and we're not sure whether the owner would speak English or not. As we arrived, we found out that he didn't really. We managed to stumble through with our basic German, but if you don't speak German, at least be prepared for this. We gave him our details, like our address, our phone numbers, and our IDs, and he did take a copy of them before giving us our keys and showing us around the hotel. The hotel does have a couple of communal areas, such as the kitchen, which is equipped so that you can stay in and cook if you want to. There are plenty of pots and pans that you can use, and everything seems pretty new. You're also given a designated shelf in the fridge, and free tea and coffee is also available. There's also a machine that you can use for fancier coffee, but you need to pay €2 per cup and track it on a sheet next to the machine. The other communal area is upstairs, where there's a sofa and a TV. We didn't use this, and we didn't see anybody else using it either, but if you maybe go as a bigger group, this could be a really nice place to chill out together. There's an area to the back and side of the hotel where you can park your car if you brought one, or park your bicycle. You can park it either around the side like we did, or in the garage space. The room itself was pretty simple but nice and clean, and the bathrooms were also quite modern. It seems that everything here is pretty new or still in really good condition. We also had a non-traditional key for our room, where it felt more like a car beeper, so you would hold down a button to unlock the door, and once more to lock it. We spent the rest of day 1 wandering around the local area, going to the closest supermarket and cooking dinner for ourselves. This was the day we had planned to go to a kind of park that was not too far from the hotel by bike, in a place called Beelitz-Hehlstetten. The journey was about 13 kilometers, and Google told us it would take about 40 to 45 minutes. Of course, it took a bit longer. The route that Google told us was also not fully correct and told us to turn off a road where there was actually no crossing. However, it turned out to be better. Once we joined the bike route, called the R1, it led us all the way there really. Just a quick right turn at the end of the track, 5 minutes down the road, and we were there. The park itself is called Baum und Zeit, or Trees and Time in English. This place and the buildings here were once used as a TB hospital. It was gradually expanded upon and more buildings built, with its own church and its own waterworks and electric systems. During World War II, the hospital was evacuated as it was then taken over as a war hospital. At the end of the war, it was taken over by the Red Army, damaging many of the buildings to the point of no repair, which is how we still see it today. I'd found out about this park online totally by chance, and it really didn't disappoint. The only disappointing thing for me really was the price. It cost us €13.50 each just to get into the park, and this did not include any tours of the buildings, and you can't enter them without a tour. The tours are another €15 each, and any one tour doesn't include all of the buildings or areas. So to see all of it, you would really need to sign up for multiple tours, and that would cost a fortune. I was quite disappointed that it cost so much, as I would have loved to have joined one of the tours. If you do choose to go and you want to book a tour, I would recommend booking online in advance. I'll put a link in the comment section below. The highlight for me that day was the treetop path. This is what I'd seen images of on Facebook and really inspired me to visit. The walkway is pretty long, and it mostly covers the Alpine house, which you can see in detail from here. There are also plaques along the way in English and in German to explain a bit about the history and a bit more detail about the buildings themselves. If you're scared of heights, like me, be aware that it does have a certain shakiness to it from everybody walking on it at the same time. There are some fun activities to do whilst on the treetop path too, such as the viewing platform, the crawling tube which goes above and below the path, and the net flooring area. I didn't do the crawling tubes as I'm not great with heights, but it looked pretty cool. The net, however, was kind of terrifying, and I only walked around the edges. There are also places that you can grab food here. Ice cream, drinks, burgers, etc., but it's a little bit pricey. There are lots of places to sit though, so you could always bring your own lunch. Behind the Barmannseite Park, there's another park called the Barfuß Park, which means barefoot park in English. I hadn't read much about it before going, but as we'd only spent a couple of hours at the Barmannseite Park, we thought we'd give it a go. It's pretty much what it says on the tin, a park where you're barefoot. It was €7.50 to get in, and if you do everything there, you could be there for around 3 to 4 hours easily. There are 3.5 trails that you can do, plus a cafe where we had lunch. It was pretty reasonable, and they did have dessert and savoury food such as paninis and sandwiches and waffles as well. The trails themselves are a lot of fun, and they're all slightly different. You start from the red trail, and you can choose to work your way around the others after that, in whichever order you like. On these trails, there are activities like stepping on broken glass, pine cones, this one was particularly painful, and stepping through wet clay. This one in particular felt very weird but strangely satisfying. It's surprising how relaxing this can feel on your feet and how it makes you feel. Admittedly, I was a bit skeptical at first, but now I'm sold. The park was a lot of fun, and I highly recommend a visit, either just to visit this park or to visit both of them. After this, we headed back to the hotel by bike. We discovered that this R1 bicycle route actually goes all the way through Europe, from London to Moscow. How interesting would it be to cycle all of it? That night, we decided to go out for dinner to the one restaurant that Glindow seemed to have, Da Amici. It's an Italian restaurant, and the food was actually pretty good. Once again though, the staff don't speak much, if any, English. We didn't book a table, and we were very lucky to get in, so I'd also recommend booking a table if you're planning on going there. This was our last day, so we checked out in the morning. Instead of going back home from the closest train station, we decided to actually cycle into Potsdam. The journey was just less than 15 kilometers, and once again, Google told us it would take about 45 minutes. However, we stopped off a few places along the way, so it did take us a little bit longer. The journey itself was pretty straightforward, and we were in Potsdam in no time. We parked up by Potsdam Brandenburg gate and headed into town. Brandenburger Straße is the road leading from the gate, and it has lots of shops and restaurants on it. It seems to be one of the main shopping areas. However, we headed into the Dutch quarter to a cafe called Havelbohne by Café Rösterei Unique Potsdam. I hope I pronounced that right, just in case, I'll write it in the subtitles too. They had some amazing looking breakfast, brunch and lunch foods. I went for the pancakes, whilst my boyfriend went for the continental type breakfast. Both were delicious, and mine was a bit too much for me and I couldn't actually finish it. The rest of the cafes and shops are also worth a visit, but we were pretty tired from all the bike riding, so we actually headed home. When taking the regional trains back to Berlin, there is just one thing to be aware of. A couple of train stations in Potsdam are actually pretty close together, Park Sanssouci and Potsdam Hauptbahnhof. If you're heading back into Berlin from here, it's best to go to the Hauptbahnhof station, as you can also get the S-Bahn trains. These do not run as far as the Sanssouci station, so you will likely have to wait a bit longer for the train there. Same as on the way to Potsdam, you'll need to buy an ABC ticket for both yourself and for your bike if you took one. This is the same for both regional trains and for the S-Bahn too. This pretty much sums up our trip, as our last day was a bit uneventful, but I highly recommend visiting both Potsdam and the surrounding areas. It's just stunning and has some really beautiful natural areas too. Thanks for watching, and I'll let you know about the next trip we do. Bye!